How you doing, folks? Andy Prady here with the 11 Alive Investigators. Let me tell you about a story that is starting to develop that we are working on right now. You may have heard about claims of voter suppression in Georgia and the Secretary of State's office getting sued for putting voter registrations on hold. Well, let me tell you about details about voter intimidation you may not have heard yet. I bet you haven't heard yet. It involves a grandmother in Georgia who almost went to prison for assisting a voter.
I know you before you started.
We go back a long way. We were next door neighbors.
She's not on this year's ballot, but it's easy to see why Olivia Coley Pearson has served 19 years on Douglas City Council, unopposed.
So we all go way back.
She knows her constituents.
Thank you, sweetie.
While popular in her district, Coley Pearson's toughest political battle happened last year. Not on city council.
You committed false swearing, did you?
No, sir.
But in a Coffee County courtroom facing felony charges.
Not true.
It started with a complaint filed with the Georgia Secretary of State's office. The claim, illegally assisting voters in 2012. Listen to an audio recording between a state investigator and a voter Coley Pearson helped.
Do you know why Miss Pearson signed the back of the vote certificate that she was assisting you?
Because I didn't know what to do, what I ought to do.
Was that the first time using the machine?
Yeah, that was my first time.
At the end there where you have to push the button to cast your ballot, who pushed that?
Me.
And that's what happened. That's what I was criminally charged for in terms of assisting a voter.
Were you on the ballot?
No.
Here we go again.
Reverend Rudolph Porter is a local pastor.
If she could have gone to prison for that, I guarantee you could serve all the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the Coca-Colas in the world. People wouldn't have gone to the polls ever again in this county if she would have been found guilty.
They would have been that afraid to go.
Absolutely. In fact, I would have started voting absentee.
How's it going?
Mark Loudon Brown is an attorney for the Southern Center for Human Rights and represented Coley Pearson.
I don't know what the motive was, but it certainly, as an outsider, makes you think they're trying to send a message to people of color.
You good, David?
I'm good. All right, all right.
I'm just going to have you say your name and your title for me, and we're going to go down the line.
I'm President Senior, President of County Branch of University.
Reverend Rudolph Porter, pastor of Shallow Missionary Baptist Church, Tifton, Georgia.
George Ross Ryan to get to free place.
So we're here today to talk about Ms. Pearson's case where she was found not guilty. But before she was not found guilty, she went through a lot. When you first heard of the charges, what was your response? And by the way, we're going to go all throughout the line. I'm just going to look at you, and then we'll go down the line, if that's okay. So when you first found out about her charges, and you learned it specifically what she was charged with, what was your response?
Well, her being charged with something didn't surprise me. You want to tell you why?
Why?
Because she's outspoken. One of the most outspoken commissioner in this town. She's a people person. When they got a problem, they seek her out. That's the first thing. And the other thing is, if they get rid of Olivia Coley Pearson and get somebody else in that seat, I think somebody have more control of the city, and that's what they want.
I said, here we go again. Ms. Pearson is a lady of character. She's concerned about the least among us, the last among us, the lost among us, and the left out among us. I call her a champion of lost causes. She takes on causes everybody else walk away from and say they're hopeless. So my first reaction was, here we go again. They're picking on Olivia Pearson.
I would pretty much say the same thing. And being a journalist out here, I cover so many cities. And when I got a call to this area, and I started looking into her situation, I said to myself, it's just another move from the Secretary of State's office, a consistent pattern and practice to intimidate, suppress, control, put fear in elderly people, and to remove black elected officials from office.
Remove them from office?
Yes, it goes that far, yes.
Talk to me about race relations in Coffee County. At No Douglas, according to Ms. Pearson, is about 50-50, 50% white, 50% African American. it's about 4-1 in the county. What are race relations like in this area?
I came here in 1999 after living in Anderson, Indiana for 26 years. And I purchased a home in a white neighborhood that was listed for $108,000. The owner found out I was black. He raised the house price to $150,000. Well, that same house in Indiana would have cost me $450,000, which I couldn't afford it. So I told him I'll buy it. And it was in an exclusively white area. I applied for my loan went through. On the day of closing, I guess some of the neighbors complained, and the gentleman tried to renege on selling me the house. I threatened to sue him, and the loan went through. Anderson, Douglas, Georgia is a segregated area. Blacks stay on the black side of town, whites stay on the white side of town. Even blacks here who had money to live in an exclusive area were probably afraid to do so.
And how long ago was that?
1999. 1999, I remember it like it was yesterday.
What are your thoughts on race relations in this area?
Well, it just depends. Like, Brockton, for the most part, I think it's pretty good. I came from Fitzgerald, Georgia. That's been here in Canada. I came here after I got out of school. I had some good experiences down here. My wife did too. Now, some places it's sort of rough and some people rough, but there are a lot of good people around here. And I think probably the most trouble we have with is the power structure. See, some years ago we had an election, and this was another attempt at annexation for the city of Douglas. Well, we had a coalition at the time. There were white folk outside of the city who didn't want to be bothered with the city, and they sort of joined with it. And that's why there was no annexation the second time. So it just depends. It just depends.
You don't know what city in the county you're in, or?
It depends on the issues and all that good stuff. I mean, I couldn't say Coffee County altogether was bunch of races one way or another. No, you got a lot of good people down here. That's what made me want to live down here. You got some tough ones too.
Well, I'm not from here, so all I could speak as a member of the press, I was called here way before this ever started, with putting a noose around the black individual's neck and the school system, and even including with the Douglas Now Enterprise, the way they mistreated her. And so I'd rather not comment on that, but I would just say for the reasons I called here as a member of the press was to report on some of the race issues.
So as a journalist here, you've reported on some race issues?
Oh yes, several, yes.
Do you think the charges brought against Ms. Cooley-Pearson were racially motivated? Do you think race played a part in her charges?
Absolutely. I think not only did race play a part, they were trying to show the community that if we can bring Ms. Pearson down, we can bring anyone down. If she would have been found guilty of those charges, the average black person in this town would be afraid to walk by the polls, let alone vote in the polls. And the one witness who testified basically says she looked confused. Ms. Pearson came over and just pointed in the direction of where she stuck the card, and that was it. If they could have found her guilty of that, I would have been afraid to even walk by the polling place.
Do you think it played a part? Do you think?
Let's go back to the power structure.
Yeah.
There's a struggle here concerning power and who has it. Yeah, they were after the living. Yes, she was black, and if they could have gotten rid of her, they'd have had a better time, an easier time doing what they wanted to do. Yeah, and there was a poll conducted by her attorneys. They hired a professional to come down here, and they talked to white and black. The results showed that most of the white people they talked to thought she was a bad person, basically couldn't be trusted. Just the opposite with black folks.
So So how do you interpret that?
There's a problem with somebody. There's a problem. So we can say, yeah, it's racist. We can say that. But I tend to point at the power structure, just like our president right now. The United States is not like him. As a whole, it's not. But that person's got a problem, and he's got some folks supporting him. And even people in his own party, they're afraid of him because of that.
Going straight to Olivia Coley Pearson situation rather than some of the other cases and incidents I followed up on, is that during her case, I put in my request to be in the courtroom as I under Rule 22. I've been all the way in the courtroom, all the way across the state up to Georgia Court of Appeals. And I had more problems getting into the courtroom here in Coffee County than any city or county I've ever been in. And when I put my request in, he let me record the first case, but I couldn't use it. The second case, they totally ignored me and said they never got it. In fact, the first one, they said they never got the request. And eventually, when I showed them and I had a copy of it, he did allow me to record it, but I couldn't put it up. And so I feel like that in itself also was dealing with race, not to mention her second case. Her second case, he pretty near told me, shut me down. He said he didn't get it. And he did it to embarrass me. I'm talking about Judge Andrew Spiker now. And so to make a short form, not taking much time, yes, it's definitely about race. And it's no different from any of these other cities and counties that I have covered. I've covered, and in 2018 to be a retired military general, it hurts me to the core.
Why should people in Atlanta care about Mrs. Pearson's case?
Because she is a champion and a community leader, an elected official, and she's not an Uncle Tom. She's not afraid. She's right out of that tradition of Fannie Lou Hamer, but she's Olivia Pearson and she's original. And if we can silence her voice, then there's no hope for any young person who aspire to run for governor, such as the young lady who's running for the governor of our state.
When it comes to like voter intimidation, do you think what happened to Ms. Pearson will influence voter intimidation at the polls for minority voters?
Yes.
Why?
Because she's a commissioner, for one. And she's passionate about issues that concern her. So if you get her being in the position she's in, it tends to silence others.
But how do you think that interprets to people not going to the polls? Help me understand, why would someone, I'm trying to put in perspective again why people in Atlanta should care. If what happened to Ms. Pearson is bad for minority voters, a minority trying to get into elected officials, help me understand why that is.
Well, let me say it another way. If you can get a person of her caliber in her position, you can get anybody. Anybody. Olivia has a world-class education, and she don't have to kiss anybody behind. She speaks truth to power, and she's a person for the people. That's why they call on her, because they can get something done, especially if it needs to be done. That's why they call on her.
Not only that, she was born and raised here. Her mother was a fighter for the average citizen in Coffee County. And when you read the article, they basically say she was charged with trying to help someone who was going through the voting process. Well, if she could have gone to prison for that, I guarantee you could serve all the hot dogs, the hamburgers, the Coca-Colas in the world. People wouldn't have gone to the polls ever again in this county if she would have been found guilty, in my judgment.
It would have been data for you.
Absolutely. In fact, I would have started voting absentee.
Let me give a shot at it. Here's how it should be of interest to the people in Atlanta. the 25 cities that I'm working, without exception, the Madison, Florida 9, they brought up the most respected people in that city on voter fraud charges. The Quitman 10+2, they brought up the most respected people. Dr. Nancy Denner had a doctorate degree. She's now, after all this, they removed her from the Board of Education. She's now the mayor of that city. Another lady, Diane Thomas, was one of the Quitman 10 that they brought up on voter fraud charges. She's now on the Board of Education. And Lou Trotman as well. In Meigs, it's the same thing. Lumpkin, every community, and above all, but Mary Ann Whipperloo in Gordon, her whole family is the most respected black family in that community. She was elected mayor. Then they attacked her. So the state of Georgia, the Secretary of State's office, should be concerned when you have 84 to 92-year-olds saying they will never ever vote again because of the way the Secretary of State investigators, Georgia Bureau of investigators came into the community with guns and intimidated elderly folk to a degree that they had never seen before. So this is why the state of Georgia, the state leaders, if not the federal level, should be concerned about what is going on throughout the state of Georgia.
Anything else that you can think of? Go ahead.
I got a comment, a particular comment, and you really wouldn't expect it from educated people. When they had a hung jury on Olivia's case, and it came out, the former of the jury, he brought up some issues he was more than passionate about it. And matter of fact, I think he sort of kind of showed his hand. Now, there was one person that stood fast and believed what she believed. We found out what she believed after the trial was over. He was vexed. This person was a doctor of chiropractic. He wanted the judge, in his opinion, to throw her off the jury because the rest of them were gathered on it and she was holding the others back, and he just went on. You know, he didn't even know the law. Up there running his mouth. Yeah, he was passionate, and he's part of the structure. Yeah, he wanted her gone. But that's not the law. So a lot of people are passionate about stuff. It's got nothing to do with the law. And let me show you something else concerning Olivia. We were, the last election, we were sitting over at the pole. She got a little station there. She was talking to people as they come by. I was talking to people as they come by. And there was some Donald Trump people who came over there. Oh, they were white. Wasn't friendly. Wanted to take the sign that we had. You know. And they looked like somebody who were packing, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They weren't there to be friendly, and I hope you vote for the same person I did, and I hope we win and everything be all right. Nothing like that. Intimidating. It was ugly. You know what I'm saying? But I knew what was going on. And I held my peace. But I know what the problem was. I know what the intention was. And yeah, you got some folk like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of?
Yes, Alex, you remember in 2010, Shirley Sherrod, who was over the Department of Agriculture for the state of Georgia, she spoke at the NAACP banquet. Olivia Pearson was there, Mr. Presley was there. Probably didn't have 50 people in attendance. They doctored the tape, and that lady was fired by the Secretary of Agriculture. Ms. Pearson stood up for her, our Presley stood up for her, I did. We were on national television in this little town, and if it weren't for us telling the truth, that lady would still have been fired.
Can you remind me? I vaguely remember.
This was the town,
Yeah.
Shirley Sherrod. She came to speak at the NAACP banquet.
Yeah.
And there was more than 50 people there.
What did she say? What did they doctor it to say?
She told a joke about how she had helped this white farmer, and they doctored the tape to make her look like a racist, like she didn't want to help white folks.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they fired her.
Who doctored it?
Breitbart News, and the Secretary of Agriculture, Millsap, fired her.
Did she ever get a job there?
What she did was she chose not to go back, and I think they settled. But that happened in this little town. They came all over, found a way to get those tapes, doctor them up to make her look like a racist, and she was actually fired. And Shirley said, "Look at the tape." We went on national news and told the truth. Olivia, our president, myself, and others.
They were sent a copy of the tape.
Yes.
Okay. And let me show you something else that's tragic about that. That Friday before we had the banquet, she went to Pearson, Georgia. That's Atkinson County, one of the poorest places around here. She talked to the mayor and a whole bunch of folks. She told them that they were entitled to a lot that USDA had to offer, and she was going to help them get it. Now that's the tragic part about that. If she was there, I was there, there was a lot of folks there. And she told them that she was intending to help them get it. Now, yeah.
I'm sure Fox News ate that up.
July 2010, this little town. But we stood up for what was right. Save Shirley Sherrod, and we stood up for what was right when they tried to railroad Olivia Pearson.
Thank you. You guys did a great job. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and briefly chat with us. Really doing it.
How many was in the banquet?
I thank you, man. I thank you.
Y'all
Thank
are
you.
awesome.
How many was in the banquet? I thought it was about 50.
Yeah, we had one for the day.
Well, cut that out. Cut that out. Cut that one. Cut that
Great
number out.
job. Y'all did a great job.
Yeah, that was terrible.
No, Alex. Shirley Sherrod came here, and they fired her.
That was
I was
here
telling
in
your name,
Douglas.
Andy.
Andy, they fired her.
Here in Douglas.
Fired her.
Yeah, here it
But
goes.
you're in NAACP meeting?
At our banquet.
at our banquet.
The Freedom banquet. The biggest event we had.
Who took the video and
Johnny Wilkerson.
And Breitbart somehow purchased a copy of it from her.
who's this Johnny person?
He does the video for the city of Douglas, our city council
They'll
meetings.
put you in touch with her if you want to get a copy of it.
And she was fired. They doctored it up, and they fired her. And she kept saying, "Look at the
Or was
tape."
it just on YouTube and he just took it off? I guess sometimes.
No.
No, it
No.
Yeah,
it
it never
airs
been
on
on
TV
YouTube or
around
anything.
here.
Yeah, it
local
airs on
television.
your local channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing's hid. We air
Right.
we air every one.
But they
I
spliced
think she
it.
made a joke that this white farmer came to her and that something that she could have said, I'm not going to help this white guy, but then she said, well, of course I was going to.
And they took it out of context. Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper. In
CNN,
fact,
it was CNN.
In
Say
fact,
somebody else took
yeah,
chewing tobacco too.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
but they came to her defense because they knew who she was
Yeah.
and what she did.
Yes.
You know?
And we went to the courtroom and stood with Miss Pearson, and there were a lot of blacks in this town afraid to outwardly support her.
Yes, that's
I guess
true.
they scared to lose
Are you
the job
afraid
at
you'll
the
be
chicken
next?
plant or the peanut. Well, you got a chicken plant here, peanut plant. What else?
PCC.
PCC.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There were
Mark Loudon Brown is an attorney for the Southern Center for Human Rights and represented Coley Pearson.
I don't know what the motive was, but it certainly, as an outsider, makes you think they're trying to send a message to people of color.
very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American and if you run for office and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
The prosecution changed the wording on the ballots to prosecute Lula Smart. The language was not there in 2010. They changed it on the ballot to make it look like she was guilty. The prosecution suppressed evidence.
Yes, sir.
They hid evidence.
Show they did. I'm a witness.
Show them. Speak it. Tell the truth.
I believe that we ought to demand, as concerned citizens,
Yes.
that they drop the charges on every remaining member.
Hurts me. My county commissioners, Mr. S.O. Jones, Mr. Joe Wingate, and Mr. Howard Lawson find nothing wrong with this. They find nothing wrong with this. How much can one community endure to have the right to have our votes cast and counted for who we want to represent us?
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation lied on the stand.
That's right.
Falsified documents.
That's right.
The Secretary of State lied on the stand. Boone from the post office, who started this whole mess, lied on the stand. All to try to make these citizens look guilty.
David Miller, he was caught on perjury. On the stand. You have the old voter registration lady, where she was taking ballots on those. And once those ballots come in, those voters, absentee ballots come in the office, they're supposed to be up on the lock and key. You're not supposed to take it home. You can add a fourth person in there because she and her granddaughter helped them with it.
These people's names have been tarnished, their reputation besmirched. They have been talked about, accused of different things, and now they are proven innocent. How are you going to get the horse back in the... How will you restore these people good name and reputation?
This is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhines, and I just received the breaking news that we have a new mayor in Quitman, Georgia. Much like the Quitman 10+2, Nancy Dennard being the first president of the Brooks County Board of Education, and now we have James Brown III, the first Black African American mayor of Quitman, Georgia.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation lied on the stand.
That's right.
Yes.
Falsified documents.
That's right.
Yes.
The Secretary of State lied on the stand.
Yes.
In the first trial, 3 of the prosecution key witnesses was all found, I ain't gonna say found guilty, was all 3 of them was guilty of something, one thing or another. You had the, what's his name, the district attorney here?
David Miller.
David Miller. He was caught on perjury. On the stand. You have the old voter registration lady. What she was doing, she was taking ballots home with her.
The post office.
And once those ballots come in, those voter absentee ballots come into office, they're supposed to be up on the lock and key. You're not supposed to be taking them home. You can add a 4th person in there because she had her granddaughter helping her with it.
Our attorney, Attorney King, had the opportunity to cross-examine the star witness of the prosecution, Mr. Boone of the United States Post Office. Mr. Boone testified that he had collected the names of and written the names of individuals that mailed in an absentee ballot. This is in violation of his charge and his oath as an officer of the United States Postal Service. I don't want my postman going through my mail and recording who I'm getting mail from. I don't expect my mailman to be recording who I'm sending my Christmas cards to. This is a free country. This is the United States of America. We don't spy on each other in this country. But what he was doing doesn't hold up to the light of day. He presented a list that he swore to of 15 names that he swore put in post office collection box all at the same time. And he swore by one person. Well, very interestingly, upon cross-examination, it was shown in black and white on the return envelope for absentee ballots that one was sent in with a date of July 5th, 2010, and one on a date of July 15th. He had previously testified that every ballot paid in was immediately stamped that day by the local Quitman post office and expeditiously delivered to the registrar of voters here from Brooks County. There were 10 days between the receipt of these 2 envelopes that he had sworn he recorded on the same day at the same time being deposited by the same person. As the defense attorney said, that is a lie. It was proven to the jury, the judge, and all in the courtroom. These postmarked return envelopes showed the dates of July 5 and July 10, respectively. Those aren't recorded on the same day. Beyond this, that opened a can of worms that the defense attorney has exposed, that the prosecution does not have. Of those 15 ballots, they have but 2 of the originals. The other 12 are missing. They are unable to produce them. They brought out all the materials they contend that the prosecution has. Put the boxes out, let the defense attorneys go through them. That's all we have, and these documents are not in there. The original documents that he is making these salacious charges on are non-existent. The chief case agent of the G.B.R. testified that she picked up many, many boxes from the election office here in Brooks County.
Ms. Braswell.
That is correct. Ms. Braswell testified. She also testified as an agent of the G.B.R. that she turned over every bit, all of that material to the prosecution. All that's remaining today are what look to me like 3-4 small boxes of some evidence, some pieces of paper. The prosecutor is even admitting that they probably won't be able to find the originals. The judge has ordered them to produce the originals by the convening of court, in this case the next day on Tuesday. It is highly unlikely after all this. They have looked before. They will not find originals. They know they are not producible. Why do originals that are being used to tarnish the reputation and exposed to convictions of innocent people, why does that evidence suddenly totally disappear? And beyond that, the list that the registrar would have of individuals applying for these absentee ballots has disappeared. There is no record that these individuals, who the postal employee claims all mailed in their ballot on the same day, came in the same stack at the identical time, they never show on the records of having received a ballot. The ballots are dated by the post office itself 10 days apart. This is a miscarriage of justice in the state of Georgia that cannot be overlooked. The Secretary of State and the Governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American and if you run for office and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished. The Governor and the Secretary of State are trying to intimidate and suppress the African American vote since they know if the 400,000 registered African Americans in the state of Georgia that did not vote in the last election cycle come out and exercise a right that people have died for, the right to vote. If the African American community and all people of color exercise their constitutional right to vote, it will mean the demise of this white privileged aristocracy here in Georgia. That is not American. That is not worthy of the state of Georgia. This prosecution is a travesty. The prosecutors, the Secretary of State, the Governor should be called out on what they have done to these women and called to publicly apologize for the 4 years that they have put them under this scrutiny and this character assassination. So that's how I feel about today.
Thank you very much. This is the Ghetto Free Press, just keeping it real. Once again, I want to appreciate you. You are a prime example, in my most humble opinion. While we cannot hate one another because of the skin color, it's not about skin color. It's about what is right and wrong. I think perhaps that Jesus put it best, and I put it in my own words: want for your neighbor that which you want and have for yourself and your own children. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.
Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George Boston Ryans. And what's your name once again, my beautiful brother?
George, my name is Kevin Moran.
All right. And you're with the People's Agenda.
I'm with the Coalition of the People's Agenda, convened by Dr. Joseph E. Lowry.
All right. I want to ask you a few questions. Number one, I've been here. I missed Monday because I was up there with the newly elected black mayors, Mayor Ann Whippley, who's being mistreated, and I believe it all interrelated together.
Yes.
But I got here Tuesday, and I didn't see any news media here Tuesday. I didn't see any Wednesday. I didn't see any Thursday, and I didn't see any today. I didn't even see any of the news reporters. I haven't seen anything in the Valdosta Daily Times, a metropolitan city. I only saw a little snippet in the Equipment Free Press yesterday when I got that in my mailbox because I subscribed to the paper. But the question is, how do you think that the news media like CNN, MSNBC, even with Al Sharpton, can ignore or omit what is happening here in Brooks County, where we had hundreds of people to march here because this is a very, very high-profile case. Why do you think that the news media are not concerned about voting rights down here in South Georgia? Apparently because they're not here.
The mass media that you refer to is totally owned and operated by the white aristocracy in Georgia. And it is an inconvenient truth that Equipment 10 plus 12 have been salaciously charged.
10 plus 2.
10 plus 2 with charges for crimes they did not commit, and it was proven today in court.
Okay. Another thing I want to ask you is that if you had not spoken out a little bit about what happened here today, I say that this information that took place in the courtroom outside of the transcript, which will be a matter of record for all eternity, I guess, but without that, the local citizens here in Quitman and Brooks County and all around South Georgia, they wouldn't know anything about it, because when the newspapers are written, which I call the archival record, when they read that in 30, 40 years in the schools require these students to do turn papers on the events of yesterday, they won't be able to retrieve that from the newspaper because it wasn't there.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think that's why it is essential that this word get out. And I've been fortunate 4 years ago, when you mentioned hundreds of us scattered here on the steps, to be traveling with an international representative of the Mennonite Church, who I contacted last night that this trial is still going on. He has learned the truth, and he is ashamed that the United States judicial system here in Quitman, Georgia, is lynching these 10 plus 2 for acts they never committed, and by the media intentionally, I really believe it is intentionally not being here.
Yes, sir.
It is an inconvenient truth what has been done here. For 4 years, these women and one man have been subjected to daily harangues, allegations by the G.B.R, put in jail because they won an election. They won an election to office that had previously been held by white males. And for the first time, we had African Americans of impeccable character and wonderful qualifications as educators elected to the school board. They've been elected 2 times since by the same plurality. This was not a fluke. This was not a manipulated election. This, unfortunately, for some, is the South of the future. Georgia will become a majority state of colored people. Our brothers and sisters in Christ will be represented. This is a democracy in the United States. We have fought for it. We are entitled to our rights of equality under the law. We haven't seen that here. And the media doesn't want to be telling that story because governors, heads of the G.B.R, secretaries of state will be criticizing them and exerting again power upon them. We're playing with some players that have great power and great audacity to use it. We need to stand up to them. We need to tell the truth. The truth needs to be told. And George, you are telling the truth. You are the only member of the press here today. And it's a privilege to have you here and documenting the truth.
Woman from the post office who started this whole mess lied on the stand, all to try to make these citizens look guilty. Good evening, how you doing? First of all, I'd like to say that we commend the Quitman team +2 for the way they handled themselves during this. The thing about it that was so beautiful is that it was all of us. We had a wonderful team. Sister Louis Smart, Nancy Denner, Mrs. Simmons from Atlanta, and Attorney King. They made those people like amateurs.
Amen.
Woo! Let me give you a little background. But I'm so thankful to the Quitman team +2 that they did not take a plea bargain.
Amen.
Amen. If they had been convicted of one crime, that would have been a felony on their records, and they would have been messed up for life. My prayer to God was total exoneration, innocent on all counts, and God brought us through.
Sure did.
I want to give you a little background. On December 2010, 10 citizens of Quitman, Georgia were arrested and accused of voter fraud. These citizens was arrested unceremoniously, put in orange jumpsuits, their names splattered all over the newspaper, the television, the radio, and this was only an indictment. An indictment is only an accusation, but yet these citizens were presumed guilty before there was even a trial. Amen. And we must understand that every citizen is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. When they was arrested, we thank God for the community that came together. And the first meeting was held at Bethel AME Church. We thank God for Bethel for opening their doors. I was a pastor there. We also like to thank our good friend Floyd Rose. Stand up. God always have people in place when you need them the most. He is a stalwart in the civil rights movement. He knew what to do. He even named the Quitman team. Amen. He showed us how to get this movement organized. And we thank God for him. He's from the SCLC. Amen. We thank God for them and Tyrone Brooks coming down and helping us. Also, during this movement, the NAACP was started here. And that was to, there might be future cases that might come up. And we'll have an organization in place to make sure we can handle this situation. Now, the United States Constitution guarantees each person equal protection under the law. The United States Constitution guarantees that every person of our nation is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The rights of these citizens were violated. Amen.
Yes,
And what angers me so is the fact that Sister Latasha Head died with these accusations hanging over her head. And yet there are still, with her, 11 people that still have to be tried. This case has been going on for 4 years. Now, you have to understand one thing, and that is, every person is entitled to a speedy trial. Their rights was violated. Now, why did it take over 4 years to bring these people to justice? Because they didn't have a case.
right.
Amen.
That's right.
They didn't have a case. They were hoping that they would take the plea. But when they didn't do that, they had to prove their case. And if you were in the courtroom, you would have seen one of the biggest fiascos you ever seen in your life.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Oh, yeah.
The witnesses lied on the stand.
Yes.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation lied on the stand.
That's right. Yes.
Falsified documents.
That's right. Yes.
The Secretary of State lied on the stand.
Yes.
Bloom from the post office, who started this whole mess, lied on the stand.
Yes.
All to try to make these citizens look guilty. But thank God that we have a God who sits high.
Come on now. Yes, sir.
That's
right. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
That's right. The sad thing about this case is Governor D, who's the leader of the state of Georgia, left the state capital to come down here and suspend people who were elected to the school board.
Yes. Yes.
This election was certified and without due process of law.
That's right.
Every person is entitled to due process of law.
Yeah. That's right.
But he's put it upon himself to suspend Dr. Nancy Denner, who has a doctor's degree.
Sir.
Sister Diane Thomas, who has a master's degree. Earned. And Sister Linda Troutman.
Yes, Lord.
They treated us like, excuse me for saying us, because I was just as angry as they were.
That's right. That's right.
Every citizen in Brooks County should have been angry.
Upset.
Come on now.
Yes, sir.
For the way they treated our citizens.
Yes, sir.
But yet many people didn't get involved because, number one, you thought they was guilty because the white man said they was.
Come on now. That's all right. Woo! And you're scared.
Come on now. That's it. That's it.
My question is, how are you going to get the horse back into the barn?
That's right.
These people's names have been tarnished, their reputation besmirched. They have been talked about, accused of different things, and now they are proven innocent. How are you going to get the horse back in the... How will you restore these people's good name and reputation? How are we going to do that? We need to look at that and see what we can do to help them restore their good image. One thing that most people didn't understand, and I'm getting ready to close, were that when the G.B.R, the Secretary of State, canvassed the community, they tried to strike fear in the heart of the black community.
Woo! Yes, sir! Yes, sir! Yes, sir!
They didn't want you to vote.
That's right.
They especially didn't want you to vote absentee because those absentee ballots can be accounted for.
Yes, sir. Paper
That's
trail.
right. Paper
This
trail.
trial proved that there was corruption downtown.
That's right.
If it wasn't for the absentee ballots, it never would have been uncovered.
That's right.
Many people don't understand that when those incumbents were declared the winner that night and woke up and had lost the election that next day, it's because they didn't intend to count the absentee ballot.
That's right. That's right.
But God prevailed. Amen.
Amen.
The prosecution changed the wording on the ballots to prosecute Lula Smart. The language was not there in 2010. They changed it
My Lord, my Lord.
That's right.
on the ballot to make it look like she was guilty. The prosecution suppressed evidence.
Yes, sir.
They hid evidence.
Show they did. I'm a witness.
Amen. Show the wicked. Tell the truth.
I believe that we ought to demand, as concerned citizens,
Yes.
that they drop the charges on every remaining member. What's so amazing is that Sister Dana and all of the workers on the poll had been trained.
Yes.
They knew what to do. But yet they tried to make it look like they were incompetent. But God prevailed.
Amen.
Few of the fallacies of this trial, and then I'm going to sit down.
Amen.
And I don't know about you, but I got angry when I looked. I didn't even vote absentee ballot that time. And here come the G.B.R. and the Secretary of State knocking on my door.
Wow.
Wow.
But one thing that happened that most people don't understand is that you all shut them down.
Amen.
Amen.
You all shut them down. When you told them that we're not going to answer your question, we voted who we wanted to vote for, I did what I wanted to do, get out of my yard.
Woo, there it
We don't have to be afraid no longer.
is. All right. Amen.
It's so much I could go on, but I'm going to
Tell the story.
Jesus.
I'm going to yield. But there were so many fallacies.
Yes.
And I hope and pray that we all learn a lesson from this.
Yes.
That we're not going to let anybody come in our community and disrespect our people. These were the leading citizens of our community that they went after.
Amen.
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 If the head falls, the body, you kill the head, the body gonna die. But see, they didn't know Nancy Denner. And Diane, Miss Troutman.
That's right.
And they didn't know.
They didn't know.
But I knew from the beginning, that they were innocent from the start. I don't know about you, but I grew up in the 50s. I was born in 1952. Amen.
Amen.
And I know the tactics of the other man. They'll do anything to win.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
But I want to say to you and to all of the people who prayed and supported the Quitman team. I know some of you wanted to be there, but you had to work. I know some of you could have been there, but you chose not to. But thank you for your prayers. Thank you for just putting them up before God.
Amen.
And allowing God to use them. Whether you know it or not, God used them.
Yes. Yes, he did.
There was a gentleman that called me from San Francisco, and he said, "What in the world are y'all doing out there?" He got on our organization, the NAACP, because they didn't come here. I'm angry because the president of the NAACP didn't show his face.
Tell it.
And I'm angry.
Tell it.
Now he writing all kind of articles. Want the Quitman 10 plus 2 to come up there and talk. Where was he when they needed him the most? And that's a little bit of the history, and I'm going to close with this. The Get Out the Vote campaign of the Quitman 10 plus those who helped were the most brilliant campaign I have seen in my life. People voted who had never voted before in their life.
Amen.
People who couldn't make it to the poll. And they got beat at their own game.
Come on now. That's right.
Amen.
Amen.
It was a brilliant campaign. It was well planned, well organized. And many other communities are looking at what the Quitman 10 plus 2 did. And they are doing the same thing in their communities.
Of course.
So we say Quitman 10 plus 2, don't stop doing what you're doing.
Right now.
We got we're fast getting a new council. I told one of the white gentlemen that he was wondering how did the mayor get beat. And I told him that everybody who touched the Quitman 10, we
Look
was
out,
going
man.
after.
Look out! Look out! There it is!
Amen. I don't know about y'all, but you ain't gonna mess with no.
That if you are African American, and if you run for office, and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
And it looks as if though this is the mayor's office, and they seem to be
It's the only place they get right now.
and they're changing the lock. Go ahead, brother. Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, they won't let her in the other offices. They throw that over there.
Right.
They put her in this place over office over here. Now they're changing the locks on it. Now where she can't get in there.
Wow.
Now they canceled the meeting tonight.
Yeah,
that last minute.
Have you ever seen anything like this before, man?
I never. You know they arrested the mayor though.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That disorderly conduct.
Yeah. What did she do? You know?
I don't know, but you know, disorderly conduct might be
Anything. That's right. Yeah.
it's a catch-22.
Right.
You know, unless you start cussing somebody or threatening, you know, violence or something, that's different. But Linda ain't done nothing. Linda did not do nothing.
Why are you rating the state officials like
I don't know.
the Secretary of State and the Attorney General and the Governor? I mean, they got the same problems in Gordon, Georgia.
I don't know why we can't get no help. I tell you, I
never seen nothing like this before.
Mr. Willie Charles, how you doing?
Don't take it personal, bro. We understand.
Willie Charles.
We know, we got you.
I hope you find a better because you're a better man than me. You're a good guy. And you need to do that. I need to show you you're a good man. You're much better than this, Mr. Willie Charles. Much better. I know it, but he's still a better man.
And we can't Governor Nathan Deal, Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp, Attorney General Sam Olens. I just can't understand. Nobody in the state of Georgia will come down. And what are they waiting? Are they waiting for people to get violent? It seems like that might be what they're waiting on.
I don't know what they're waiting on either.
What do you think about this? You ever seen this before? What do you think about this?
I've never seen this in my life.
But what do you think about the mayor being arrested?
I'm shocked. I'm appalled. I'm embarrassed for Meigs. I love this place. I mean, this is a good place. And the people here are good.
But had you ever seen this before?
Never.
Never.
Never. And I've lived in the city majority of my life, and I still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it. I'm very embarrassed for Meigs. I'm embarrassed at the personnel, the people, and how they're putting people in bad positions.
Thank you very much.
Honestly, win the election, you will be punished.
Okay, what are your name?
Hi, I'm Jody Williams, and I'm with the People Agenda Criminal Justice Committee out of Atlanta, Georgia, headed up by Dr. Joseph Lowry.
Something took place in the courtroom that got your interest, and you want to share that with the American people?
Sure, I do. What has caught my attention is that some of the charges that they are charging Ms. Smart with have been taken off the books as long as 2 years ago, and they're charging her with crimes that are no longer on the books, that you can no longer charge someone with. So I really don't understand what this is all about. And then they've already dropped 7 of the charges because it has nothing to do with anything Ms. Smart did, which the agents who did the investigation found no crime that she committed. So another concern is, why are they wasting the taxpayers' money with this drawn out court case which has no merits? So that was my interest today.
Okay, can you possibly, if you want to, share with me what is your analysis of why there's no news media? We're in the 14th day of this trial, and not one news media outlet, whether it's radio, television, or newspaper. Why do you think they're not here?
Well, there must be some unwritten something that these people don't want this widespread, any of this to get out, because this is how they're handling when blacks win elections. They're doing whatever it takes to have them removed, and then the governor would sign off on something like this. It is a shame. He should have done his investigation before signing off on something like this, but to me it's all about having blacks removed from office.
Do you think that by the state of Georgia, the G.B.R, the district attorney David Miller, and assistant attorney Brad Shealy, and along with the Secretary of State's office, do you believe that this whole saga with the equipment 10+2 and all these charges that we are finding out now is almost like zero? Do you think that that will stop people from voting, or do you think that would energize people to vote more? What do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is, and going back to when they went into the people's homes, knocked on the door with their badges and their guns in their holsters, telling them that they wanted to ask them some questions. One thing they did not let the people know, that if they didn't answer the questions, no harm would come to them. No arrest, no trouble would come to them. They didn't make that known when they approached the people. And as a citizen, a black citizen of the state of Georgia, it bothers me if someone approached me with a gun and a badge requesting that I do something, you know. If I didn't know that I didn't have to comply, I would try to comply, even if I didn't want to, because I wouldn't want to be in any trouble. So I know older blacks, and most of these people were older blacks. They're frightened by law officials with guns that frightened them. So of course they was intimidated and threatened by the officers who knocked on their doors with no warning.
How did you take the repeated questions by the defense to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation agents about their training? Most of them had never done an absentee ballot investigation. Why do you think the state would send amateurs down to investigate something as serious at this dispensation as voting fraud along the lines of voting rights for black African Americans?
Well, I don't understand why they would send unexperienced people when the Secretary of State has their own agents and investigators who could have readily did this. And I do know by experience that one of the G.B.R. agents have in other cases threatened people, have even set them up, have even arrested people so that they could get information or intimidate them into giving false information. So I do know that firsthand. Miss Amy Braswood tactic, and one case in particular is the Reginald Rayshawn Shriver's case, a dog fighting case, which she picked up who was considered a state witness in a drunken state and intimidated him and badgered him into making false statements against another person who was in that trial.
Now, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I wouldn't want you to make a statement that is not true. Now, what you just said, you know that's true?
I know that to be true. I was in on that particular case. I was acting as Mr. Shriver's advisor in this case.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other, you want to close us out with anything in particular?
I just want to tell the people, keep voting. Get out to vote. Make your voices heard so you'll have a stronger platform in any decision making in your county. So get out and vote.
All right, that's a good message. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. George Boston Rhymes, doing what I do because somebody got to do it. Get ready, get ready, get ready.
And if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhymes, and this is YouTube. I'm still in Lumpkin. I didn't know this was the county seat. But anyway, what's your name, my sister?
Mona Hubbard.
Mona Hubbard?
Mona Hubbard.
Mona Hubbard, okay. I'm sitting here with Mona Hubbard, and she wanted to talk to me. She wanted to highlight some of the things that we can expect here in the city. Mayor Gibson told me that she would be a good citizen to speak, and that's why we're here. Tell me something about the city. Now, first of all, I heard that there's something that happened at the city with a city council member. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
And then the pastor showed me this newspaper and showed me that I think one of the people in there is you.
Yes.
Which one is it? Right.
That's me right there.
Yeah, I thought right there. So in the headlines in the paper for my YouTube watch, it says, local NAACP calls for resignation of council member. Sworn statement alleges councilwoman Debbie Stone called Lumpkin mayor a nigger. You know anything about that?
Yes. This council person this is not her first time referring to as black people as niggers.
Wait. Now you got Miss Councilman Stone.
Councilman
So what do
Stone.
you think about your council in particular? I mean, are they operating in a harmonious relationship? What's the deal on that?
I would say during a meeting, there's not a lot of argumentation between council members to say as such. But I would say that I do have council members that are, how do you want to put it, planning, constructing turmoil outside of the meeting, but asking citizens to come in, get on the agenda to create turmoil or just having outbursts during the meeting. And the reason I say that is because it seems to be the same few people that are actually, I say, have relationship with the certain council members that every meeting or every other meeting or so come on the agenda with a concern. But during that concern, they get disrespectful. I mean, I had one guy tell me, "Mayor, your day is coming." To me, that's a threat. I had one to tell me, "You're an idiot." A couple times, real loud.
Now this was after the meeting?
During the meeting. Stand up and walk and say, "Mayor, you're an idiot."
Did you get control of the meeting, or did you have to have any type of law enforcement to assist you, or what happened with that?
At that point in time, my chief, Garcia, at this point in time, did get up and follow the gentleman outside because he was walking out when he stated that, and took care of the situation at that point in time. The one time when I was told that your day is coming, I had a different chief on, and this chief did not do anything. I mean, there have been some crowd getting loud where most of the time I could regain control of the meeting. Not been a point where we could not regain control. But, I mean, just those outbursts that are seen to be constructed by some council members with the friends or associates that they have.
I already know we have problems in other cities. Now, this is more of a reason why the governor and the Secretary of State and the Attorney General needs to be here, if not the federal government, because you're dealing with civil rights here. So, what else happened other than this incident?
Well, she has made the comment, and people have heard her saying that she grew up calling black people niggers. So it's like, I would like to tell America to take off the blinders. I would like to tell Governor Deal and any of the people up there that we elected, they need to take the blinders off and come and see what's going on in their communities. Enough is enough, and that's it. We're not taking it anymore. I would like to tell America to take off the blinders. I would like to tell Governor Deal and any of the people up there that we elected, they need to take the blinders off and come and see what's going on in their communities. Enough is enough, and that's it. We're not taking it anymore. We're not going to take a sit down.
He just told me to turn over my everything. I can't go back in my office to retrieve anything.
As mayor.
As mayor.
That's right. All I need is the keys.
The keys. The keys to City Hall.
All of it.
Okay.
Everything you have as being the mayor. If you got anything to the City Hall, the water department, police department, whatever, I need all the keys.
Okay.
Okay?
So now, hold on just a second. So now, what do I do? I'm going to get my stuff. Now, what we can do is, you can meet me there.
I'll go with you.
I'm George Boston Lyons, as you can see. The news media wasn't out before, but they're definitely out tonight. And it all centered around getting her keys, turning in everything that she has to the city. And we all know that this is the same thing that has happened in Meigs, Georgia. Linda Harris, all of her information have taken. The news media is here. It's the same thing that happens in Meigs, Georgia.
Why no comment, Mayor?
Have you surrendered items yet from the city to the sheriff's office?
And we support the mayor. And we support the mayor. Mayor, we support the mayor.
overwhelming tonight. Overwhelming crowd tonight. We see an overwhelming crowd. The TV channel going. The young lady that told me, don't support me. I have never, no one has ever seen me grab anybody's camera. Nobody has ever seen me touch another human being in Gordon. And I'm saying that is the temple in this area. And this is why the governor of the state of Georgia, or the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, or Georgia Attorney General Sam Olsen need to come here into these southern towns and try to put an end to this before this get out of hand. We have pleaded in several cities, and we have asked that our leaders come to try and resolve the situation. As you can see, the tensions are high, but I have never taught anyone. Yet this afternoon, the young lady grabbed my camera, as you saw. As you listen. Listen, please. Listen. This is why the governor of the state of Georgia, needs to step in. Nathan Deal, Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp. This is why the Georgia elected officials need to come into Gordon, Georgia. This is why the governor of the state of Georgia, the Georgia Attorney General, for Eric Holder, the Justice Department, President Barack Obama, in all these southern cities. This is what is happening. And yet nobody, NAACP, the SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, notice, look, listen. All right.
He told him to walk out, I walked out. Leave.
Get rid of you, your fast mind, yourself. That's why she bringing him in here. That's why she bringing him in here.
He must have seen his name.
That's why she bringing him in here. That's why. It was more than
seen the last name.
It was more than him. And they can't stop nobody from laughing. You got it right.
You can't say it down, right?
Okay, what? I don't know. That's why she bring them all in. That's why. No black folks. Them that don't want to do right, they need to get them up there. They need to get rid of every damn thing from up here. All of them. The guys are supposed to be bringing stuff. They don't want to hear the truth. They know they don't want to hear the truth. They need to just get rid of it.
They need to get rid of Marshall don't need to be back here in damn me.
They need to get rid of that woman up there.
Yeah, they need to get rid of her and Renee were about to drop in there. She sure did, looking like a wild hawk.
The council members need to get rid of her and her.
By my own.
Now them council members need to get rid of that shit, man.
They need to get that shit over there.
Petition, sign petition. They don't want to leave.
Man, ain't never been like this.
Show ain't is it?
They ain't never been like that. Until we got these roads and trenches in here. I pay taxes. I can't never been like this here.
I'm telling you, ain't never been like this here. I'm born and raised here.
You ain't never been able to speak up for yourself. Every time they try to damn block. They need to just get rid of them. That's what they need to do. Me make it. All I would need to get myself on camera. You ain't do nobody take the money like she did that over there in damn Cool. That's why she can't get a girl like mine for the money and nothing.
Kill Cooler, you try to kill me, but I ain't gonna pay my water bill, nothing like that.
Yeah, is it 4 inch or 2 inch? No, sir. It was 6 inch.
Good, man.
6 inch? Okay, so he said what's happening is the pressure measure the pressure. Okay, then, so what we need, we run 6 inch water line down the road. And they hooked it up from there. That supposed to be a 6 inch. Huh? See what they do.
Ready Dawn, I think Larry ain't Dawn. His name Larry up there.
And so that
Oh, Lord. They know what they're doing. They need to send that woman down there to the school, and they need to get rid of Renee too.
Everything in there.
How they make her feel that? She made it herself. She ain't never turned in her application for a job, but she won't give it to them. Either Renee. Okay, and how is they get paid? They ain't turned their application in.
Let me see what Uncle Lady talking about.
Tell you what. I'll tell you what, go on.
We can't go back in, y'all.
This is why the governor of the state of Georgia, or the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, or Georgia Attorney General Sam Olsen need to come here into these southern towns and try to put an end to this before this get out of hand.
Secretary of State and the governor have made it very purposeful that they will send the message that if you are African American and if you run for office and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
How can you do me wrong when I'm doing you right? Baby, when I'm doing you right.
Why are you all here today?
We base it here that we met a year ago in Atlanta, Georgia at the mayor's conference, and I got to meet these other mayors, and we start brainstorming and find out that we have similarity, the same problem in our city. So we come to try to come together that we can help each other out in our cities, and maybe we can bring something to the table that would be benefit to each one of our cities that we have here from.
Okay, great, thank you. Will you please state your names and what city you represent?
My name is George Ivy. I'm representing the city of Warrenton, Georgia. I am the mayor there.
Hi, I'm Mayor Mary Ann Whippaloo. I'm mayor of Gordon, Georgia. And my purpose for being here today is, like Mayor George Ivy said, is to basically network and brainstorm and bring together ideas of how we can interact and listen to each other and find out what's going on and how we're able to network and reach out to our legislators, our senators, our state representatives, our attorney generals, and the governor of the state of Georgia, and to let them know that I'm not the only one. I am my brother and my sister's keeper.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Easton Harris. I'm the mayor of the city of Meigs. And as the other mayor stated, we're here to network. We're here to share the similarities that's happening within our city so that we can get with leaders, our House leaders and senators and attorney generals so that they can know the problems that we're having so we can get them resolved in a positive manner.
The governor, the secretary of state are trying to intimidate and suppress the African American vote, since they know if the 400,000 registered African Americans in the state of Georgia that did not vote in the last election cycle come out and exercise a right that people have died for, the right to vote. If the African American community and all people of color exercise their constitutional right to vote, it will mean the demise of this white privileged aristocracy here in Georgia. That is not American. That is not worthy of the state of Georgia. This prosecution is a travesty. The prosecutors, the Secretary of State, the governor should be called out on what they have done to these women and called to publicly apologize for the 4 years that they have put them under this scrutiny and this character assassination. So that's how I feel about today. You will be punished.
We are the real God-concerned citizens. We are the real God-concerned citizens.
Will you say that again?
We are the real God-concerned citizens. We're the real God-concerned citizens. And we support the man. We support the man. Now, we support the man.
As you can see, it's overwhelming tonight. Overwhelming crowd tonight. We see an overwhelming crowd. The TV channel going.
How can you do me wrong when I'm doing you right? Baby, when I'm
That
doing
if
you
you are
right.
African American, and if you run for office, and if you honestly win the election, you will be punished.
What do you think about this? You ever seen this before? What do you think about this?
I've never seen this in my life.
But what do you think about the mayor being arrested?
I'm shocked. I'm appalled. I'm embarrassed for me. I love this place. I mean, this is a good place. And the people here are good.
But had you ever seen this before?
Never. Never. And I've lived in the city majority of my life, and I still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it. I'm very embarrassed for me. I'm embarrassed at the personnel, the people, and how they're putting people in bad positions.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, what happened as far as you know?
What I know. This is what I heard.
Okay.
I'm laying in the bed.
Yes, sir.
I heard shot.
Yes, sir.
Pow, pow, pow. out of the door. And my wife come out the door. Out the front of my house right there. And I walked out the front with my light shining around. Nothing. Went back in the house, got back in the bed. I was laying in the bed, then I heard somebody holler, help, help, help. The third one was low. I got up, again, I said, baby, somebody holler for help. She said, sound like somebody hit the side. I said, no, that's somebody hollering for help. So I got my light and come back out the house. When I come out this time, I come out the front, went around the side of the house. The fence right there, I shine my light, I said, I know I heard something. Trying to get myself together. So I heard something. You have no little road. And so when I got around there, I kept shining. I saw something dark there on the ground. I had on dark clothes. And I said, hey, who is that there? He said, this me. I said, who? He said, Chris. I said, Chris? I said, what the matter? He said, Rev, I've been shot 5 times. And that's what he said.
He said that then?
He said it then. Okay. And I was on this side of the fence, so I run around to that side of the fence where he was, and I kneel over him. So when I kneel over him, I turn him up. When I turn him up, blood was gushing out of him. From here.
Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhines, and I'm holding before me another Wilkinson County Post, where DuBose Porter is the executive editor, and I understand that he's also the chairman of the Democratic Party. Mayor Ann Whippaloo, which is the mayor of this city, is a Democrat. And we see that there is much venom published in this newspaper concerning this particular historic mayor. As you know, she has been scrutinized even before she became mayor. This paper is no different. We see a picture of Miss Pamela Reeves, and we have asked over and over again, how could it be that the editor and the executive editor, DuBose Porter, cannot find a better picture of a black African-American female and mother and highly respected member here in Gordon to publish a picture such as this repeatedly in this newspaper. Many people see this newspaper as a fish wrapper. I do not see it as a fish wrapper. I see it as a way of educating and informing the people under our form of government. Freedom of speech and freedom of the press is what the founding fathers of this great republic inscribed on paper. And we are going to continue to highlight what we see here in Gordon in the same manner that we've highlighted what we see at Quitman, Meigs, Lumpkin, Dawson, Davisboro, Warrington, and other cities, Meigs, that we have journeyed to and tried to report to the people in the state of Georgia and beyond. Because we believe that there is a pattern and practice of weakening the black African-American vote. Let me rephrase that. Black American vote, for Africa is a name that was assigned to a white European general that went into that continent and killed, maimed, and murdered people of the darker hue. And so we are going to say to no end that the people in these little small towns are at their ends. They cannot understand. Both black and white right people are asking, why is it that the representatives and senators in these areas, along with the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, the Attorney General, Sam Olens, and the Governor of the state of Georgia,
and most particularly the Democratic chairperson, why they don't step up to the plate and assist these mayors in these little small towns in the state of Georgia. It is being asked, in addition to what I just said, why is it that the local civil rights organizations such as the NAACP with Francis, why is it that they cannot step up and assist these newly elected black mayors, and in some cases we are finding out now white female mayors? Something must be done. There is no need of these cities in the state of Georgia to be in disarray. There is no need of people questioning the taxpayers' dollars in these communities. There is no need of having attorneys control the city governments. There is no need for certain council members to fight a sitting mayor and for discord to be among city council, which should be a body that worked for the benefit of the people that elected them into office. Now, if you are wondering why I am now in Gordon, I was in Meigs, Georgia a few weeks ago, or last week. I was in Waycross last week. I also was in Homerville, Georgia last week, because I am concerned and I intend to connect the dots. For you have a right to know. I hadn't been to Meigs, Georgia in a pretty good while. But one of my viewers on YouTube out of Cordele, let me repeat, a lady out of Cordele called me and said, George, they have arrested a council member in Meigs, Georgia, Miss Battle, and the mayor have been banned again from her office. And I think it's time for you to get over there and take another look. And this is what I did. And I'm going to post that video in a few minutes. And if nothing happens, if God pleases, I will be back in Meigs. Because I am determined that all of our active duty, disabled, retired military veterans should know why they are serving their country. They should know why they are serving their country. I put my life on the line for 21 years during the Vietnam War. And I do believe that the people should have a right to exercise their right to vote. I believe they should have a freedom of the press, wherein the press actually press and report the truth that takes place in. This young white lady here hollered at me as you heard. This is what we have to put up with. She have a golden opportunity to come up, stand before this camera. This is the exact example of what Mayor Whipperloo, Mayor Harris have to go through. You heard her holler at me, but I did not holler back at her. And I have footage over and over again of this taking place. I don't have to do that because the truth speaks for itself. She was a white, young, white Caucasian lady. And I respect her. I will give anybody at this opportunity, at this point, I want to say, anybody can always come and stand before this camera and give their point of view. Anytime. My phone number is all over the internet. My email address is all over the internet. Jesus said, and ye shall know the truth, and that the truth shall set and make you free. Over and over again, we see the same pattern and practice throughout the state of Georgia. So I don't want nobody in Gordon to think that this is something new. The Quitman 10+2, 12 outstanding black African Americans was brought up on charges by the state of Georgia to circumvent the black vote. And in a court of law, all of them was acquitted, all charges were dropped. Some of them had 30 to 40 federal charges against them. It was nothing more. We all said it from day one, especially Representative Tyrone Brooks, Senator David Lucas, the late Senator Robert Brown said it was nothing more than to circumvent the voting process of black African Americans. And in a court of law, 12 jurors in Brooks County kicked out all charges on Miss Lula Smart, and eventually the state of Georgia dropped the other charges on all other 12 because they didn't have a case from day one. And when you look at the transcript of that, you will see unequivocally that there is a pattern to weaken the voting right process with blacks in this country. You can go to Madison, Florida,
And look at the Madison 9. They did the same thing to them. Go to Willacoochee, Georgia. They right now are in a court of law dealing with the same thing, voter fraud, to keep the black man, woman, and their children out of elected office. And our Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, haven't done nothing whatsoever. And I can't understand why the the Attorney General, Sam Olens, have not, no, let me get it right. Moving a little too fast. Let me just erase that. I can't understand why Eric Holder of the Department of Justice, the Civil Rights Division, have not come into Georgia and looked at the transcript of the court case of Lula Smart, who was tried the first time, and it ended up in a mistrial with a majority white jury with only 2 blacks on it. The second trial with a majority white jury with only 1 black on it. And the third trial with a majority black jury, and Lula Smart was found not guilty of all charges. So, what are we to do? In most of all these cities that I've been, the major news media, CNN, MSNBC, Nightline, Dateline, 60 Minutes, 47 Hours, nor your line will even report what is going on in these little small towns across the state of Georgia, and it may be in other states. It seems as if, though, there is an asserted effort across the entire state to circumvent the power of the black vote and the election process. And I'm serious. I've said it once, and I'm going to say it again. Why are we sending our sons and daughters to fight in foreign nations of the world when it seems as if, though, after 459 years from our sojourn into North America, we still have to fight to get our rights in the so-called land of the free and the home of the brave? We are showing the world what a real democracy looks like. We can't talk about communist nations when we, after 459 years, are still being circumvented from being in positions of power. Not in Russia, not in China, not in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan or Tajikistan, but right here where we stand in the state of Georgia. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk to the mayor as I get ready to leave Gordon, Georgia. Once again, I want to say to all of you, as a young white lady came by and yelled out of her window at me, please understand something. I know, and I want you black folk to know, all white people are not like this. And so we don't need to label all white people in opposition of what's going on in any of these cities, because we know there are a lot of white people who are on the right side of history as it was in the 30s and the 40s. And many of those whites made their presence known. And many whites are letting me know. But my thing is, they'll tell me behind the camera, but they need to stand in front of the camera like Mr. Moran out of Atlanta and others who I already have on this channel. Because white folk, good white folk, are tired of what they're seeing. And the thing about it is this now, white folk should really ought to wake up. Because if you don't know it, you see now that many interracial couples now they know what it's like to live in a black house because they have integrated children. And so now they are stepping up to the plate and talking about discrimination. Now they are talking about what is happening behind closed doors with their children with mixed blood. And so it's just a matter of time. With all this that's going on behind closed doors, there are white people now who are interracial marriage. There are people who have father and mother children, have children that are of a darker hue. And now they want for their children the same thing white Americans want for their children. And all I can say to you is get ready, get ready, get ready. And you're going to see what God said through his son Jesus
in St. John 8:32, and that is that you shall know the truth, and that the truth shall set and make you free. These white people who have not integrated into the black community, and these black people who have integrated into the white community by marriage or by a child giving birth to a child that they love, just like everybody else loved their children. And when these impediments are put in place behind closed doors, they're going to talk about it. And then they're going to tell the truth that we never heard before, because now people's eyes are becoming, they're becoming awakened to what's going on here in the state of Georgia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ghetto Free Press. Just keeping it real. Once again, I want to appreciate you. You are a prime example, in my most humble opinion. While we cannot hate one another because of the skin color, it's not about skin color. It's about what is right and wrong. I think perhaps that Jesus put it best, and I put it in my own words. Want for your neighbor that which you want, and have for yourself and your own children. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Los Angeles, California, Nashville, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Chicago. Heaven must be around the corner. I see it.
all, I want to say that for the majority of the night, first of all, my name is George Boston. I am just on free purpose. And for the larger part of the night, I've been filmed by an individual in here. For the larger part of the night, I've been filmed by an individual in here. For what purposes, I have no idea, but I want everybody to understand something. I'm very controversial. I've been doing this since '75. Eric Holder, Department of Justice. This will be on YouTube probably as well. Justice Department out of Atlanta and other agencies are aware of what I do. They're familiar with the threats on my life. And so if this individual's pictures show up some places, it will be because of what I didn't do, but what others who are concerned about George Boston Rhymes. I'm throwing that out. That was not a part of what I'm going to say tonight, but I'm throwing that out. Okay. First of all, I'm standing here because I was called to Quitland, Georgia, because of the newly elected black mayor there, James Charles Brown III, who wanted an office, and when he was inaugurated as the first black mayor, no one came from the council. I was then called to Meigs, Georgia. I was then called to Lumpkin, Georgia, wherein a sitting council member, Debbie Stone, called the city mayor, Charles Gibson, a nigger. That is being investigated as we speak. Then I was called to Dawson, Georgia, with Chris Wright, a newly elected black mayor who was shot 6 times, left in his yard for dead. I was then called to Davisboro, Georgia. I was then called to Warrington, Georgia. I was then called to Gordon, Georgia. And I have been called to 11 cities. This is not a game for me. You can record me all you want. You can call me nigger many times as you like. Just like I was called nigger twice coming from Morris Bank on February 6, 2015. That stuff don't deter me. I put 21 years in the United States Armed Forces. This is my DD Form 214, my retirement paper, and one of the many commendation medals that I've gotten while in the United States Armed Forces. The reason I'm sticking around in Gordon for so long is because I've been passing this information on. Because I do not believe that any mother or grandmother should have to go through certain things simply because possibly the color of their skin. I don't believe that. It is obvious of that throughout my 5,000 videos on YouTube, 700,000 views across the nation. When I was called a nigger, that's the only reason I'm standing before you today. I don't have a problem. You can't offend me by calling me a nigger. My grandmother told me about that many years ago. My grand uncle fought in wars, told me as a child how he fought the enemy, couldn't use the bathroom in the United States of America, couldn't do some of the other things that's supposed to be guaranteed by the Constitution. When you look at my record, you will see stellar clean in the military, stellar clean in Valdosta, stellar clean everywhere that I've been. The people who try to intimidate me in this city, it won't work. It will not work. I'm committed to the same principles that I served in this United States Armed Forces. I took pride in serving my country. San Antonio, Texas, security headquarters, inside the fence, the generals and the colonels, this is going to be on YouTube as well. That's where I work. And I work with pride. And I love this country until this day. And people who know me, the professors at VSU, at Valdosta State College, they know me. Black and white. They know who I am. My reputation speaks for itself. I'm going to continue to do what I do. Linda Harris, over in Meigs, Georgia, is worse than what's happening here. And as I close, I hope somebody keep it time because I don't want to go over. But let me say this in closing. It saddens me to see all these communities. The people are crying out for help and for some type of easement from what they're going through in these 11 cities. The Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, Georgia Attorney General Sam Olens, the Governor of the state of Georgia, Eric Holder, Department of Justice, All Civil Rights Division, Women Rights Organization, AFL-CIO, and others. They are watching what's going on. It's not just Gordon. To the people of Gordon, please don't think that it's just Gordon. Please don't think that. And for the white people who think black folks hate you, we don't hate you. And if we do, we shouldn't. Why? Because white folks fought for us, black folk, before we knew what the fight was all about. I know that. I study history. So I'm going to take my seat. Seem like nobody tell me about the time. I think my 3 minutes about it. But wait. Let me say this. If anybody think that I tried to belittle them or down them, let me know, and I will apologize. There is no hatred in me. What I love is God's people. And what I love is for this nation to go up and not regress. That's what I want to see. So, Mayor and Council, I want to say this to you as I close for sure. When I was called a nigger, twice, I'm not calling no names. I'm not going to use the video that I turned around. I'm not going to do that. Why am I not going to do that? Because that's not what it's about. What it's about is building a better city. Whether it's Meigs, Dawson, Whitman, Warrington, Davisboro, that's what it's about. When I was in the military, they didn't tell me nothing about no black and no white, no Democrat, no Republican. They told me to do what I need. I served during the Vietnam era. They didn't need all that. Yes, sir. If y'all have any questions for me? Yes, sir. Yes.
I have a question.
Please do. Yes, all questions.
Do you now live in Gordon?
No, I do not live in Gordon.
And so you're not a citizen of Gordon?
No, I'm not a citizen here of the city of Gordon. And, well, no. Yes, of course, she deserves an answer. Yeah. And the answer is, no, I do not. I enrolled in the military in 1971. I didn't serve Gordon. I didn't serve Thomasville, Valdosta, Atlanta, none of them. Or neither of Puerto Rico or our outlying territories. I serve for everybody. And that's why I serve everybody. So when I'm called to these communities, I go because I care. That's why I go. Nobody give me no gas for coming up here for the most part. I do it because I love people. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So my question is, you're under the citizens talking time. And are you appearing as a citizen of Gordon or as a journalist, or how are you appearing here? If you're appearing as a journalist, why does the mayor stop me from speaking?
Madam, I go to a lot of cities. I'm very familiar with the laws of addressing city council. I have no idea, but I will say this. If the mayor stopped you from doing what I'm doing tonight as a journalist to get to Free Press under the name of George Boston Rhymes, if she stopped you after you put in the request to speak as I put in the request, she is wrong in my opinion. If you put in a request tonight, I think that you have a right to be doing the same thing that I'm doing, and I wish you would have. Now that's just the way I see it. Jesus said, what I say unto one, I say unto all. And so if you can't do it unto all of us, don't do it into any of us.
That's right.
Yes.
You said you don't try to belittle anybody or make them feel bad. When you hold the newspaper up that I publish and make criticisms about that newspaper, that's offensive to me because you're not going off fact. You're only going off opinion and your emotional feelings. And that's offensive to me.
Madam, I got it. She deserves an answer.
Listen, I'm not saying that, but
The
go ahead and
newspaper's
address
trash.
this.
Mike,
Go ahead.
this lady's talking
Excuse me.
out over here. This lady just called the newspaper trash, and she's talking out of turn.
Excuse me, ladies, right now. You will address that, and we will end this. Okay, please, thank you.
Editor Judy, baby, I will say this to you. If what I spoke was in error, or if I spoke that offended you, from my heart, I'm sorry. But from my observation, from what I know to be untruths, just like today's paper, I can sit with you, if you would like at any time, with the camera rolling. And let's dialogue the apples and oranges, and let's find out. Somewhere I read, come let us reason together. And that's what is happening in this world today. People are not willing to sit down and reason. It ain't about an argument, because if people looking for somebody to argue with George Boss Ryan, I'm sorry, you got the wrong one. I don't argue.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Excuse me, Miss Bailey. No, I said after he speaks, that would be the end. Please have a seat. We are moving further along because you kept asking questions. That's from the mayor. All right, let's have a seat. That's the end of that. So now, moving further along, you and him will have to get together. Y'all can answer all the
I
questions.
don't have anything else to say to him except listen to him.
All right, thank you. All right, so just be aware of that. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Excuse me, Miss Bailey. No, I said after he speaks, that would be the end. Please have a seat. We are moving further along because you kept asking questions. That's from the mayor. All right, let's have a seat. That's the end of that. So now, moving further along, you and him will have to get together. Y'all can answer all the
I
questions.
don't have anything else to say to him except listen to him.
All right, thank you.
I don't have anything else to say to him except listen to him.
All right, thank you.
I don't have anything else to say to him except listen to him.
All right, thank
I don't have
you.
anything else to say to him except listen to him.
All right, thank
I don't have
you.
anything else to say to him except listen to him.
All right, thank
I don't have
you.
anything else to say to him except listen to him.
All right, thank you. next item of the next individual on the list is Mr. George Ryan. So just be aware of that. All right, thank you so much.
It's me, I need my minute books.
Okay, let me say this. I have the minute books, and if you need them, you need to go and
Do you realize you're supposed to look at those in my presence too? I'm the official record custodian. I am responsible
Clerk
for those.
Brown, good afternoon. And would you please
I don't
leave?
think so.
Please exit my office, please.
It is.
You're violating.
They,
I am the official record. You're not even supposed to take
it
those out of my office.
wasn't as advised.
Those are the official
by
signed
the city
signature
attorney.
on there.
Now, leave it,
You're
leave
very
it running,
rude.
Leave it running. Leave it running.
And Mr. Ryan has no right to those records without open record
Please
request.
exit my office.
And don't forget,
Please
you haven't done your.
exit my office.
But it is.
have not signed
We
your
was
check
advised.
either.
They was advised. She was advised by the attorney.
The city
Please
attorney told me to
exit
tell
my
you
office.
that. You're violating the
Please
rules.
exit my office. Y'all are being insubordinate.
No, ma'am, you're being rude and disrespectful to your
Exit
employees.
my office, please. Thank
Okay,
you.
the attorneys will be contacted.
Thank you.
Something to me when I've done the whole 10 years. This is the second time this has occurred. Now this, I think this is, no, I didn't. There were three times in one night when I went to across the street, people stepped on me, on Odyssey. And this is only the third time I've been there in several months. Right there.
Right there. He was, I can tell you what happened. Y'all stand back. Excuse me, Sean. He came right here with his video camera. She was coming out. I had to say, excuse me. Excuse me. He was holding the camera steadily on her. Standing right here would not even allow me to come through. I had to go and holler. Excuse me, Roy.
This is what happened.
This is,
Tommy, can you help me clear this? Everybody just needs to get so I can get it squared away. All right. Split. Can you help me clear this? Everybody needs to get
Come on, Marianne, up and over there. Come on up and over
Madam
there.
Mayor, Madam Mayor,
I was there.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, you was?
Give me just a minute.
Oh, okay.
Don't say that.
I know you were there.
Yes, I was. And I'm not afraid to say
Let's step down. But you tell me on camera what happened
Right.
down there, since you say
I
you
will.
was here.
I was right there.
No. Let's step down here by the city hall. Go
I
step
will.
over there.
I will. Yes. This is the truth. Jude.
Come on up and here, man. Hold on, we crazy.
No, he says they won't work.
Stop that.
Madam Mayor, would you tell me what you saw?
As I was proceeding to come out of the city annex door, this guy, the grenade guy, I think his grenade is Wednesday. The gentleman came up with this camera as if he was planning something, pulled it out, had it in his hand, walked there at the middle where that number is 108, and Ms. Well came out talking to me, and he interrupted her and had the camera on, had the camera up on her, and she asked him to move the camera, and he wouldn't. And as I asked him to excuse me to go in to get the sergeant to come out and take me so that I could leave, to escort me out, I had to say 2 or 3 times, excuse me. And so it went from there.
Okay. Well, did you voluntarily
try to explain what happened, or will you provide a statement to the police since you say you was there?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
No problem.
Why don't you go and get on record with the chief of police and tell him that you saw and that you would like to make a statement, if not tonight, some other time?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. Once again, this is the Ghetto Free Press. We just want the truth. That's all.
I don't know what happened. I saw him in his birthday. Exactly. But I saw this lady.
Mr. Rhymes, you got to leave too. Back up from here. Okay.
It's 50, law 50 feet. Want to go back 50 feet? That's the law.
No, sir. Being asked to leave because hostility's been going on. Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll leave.
That's the reason
I'm
I'm
a law
asking
abiding
everybody to leave. Okay?
I will leave. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm asked to leave, and 50 feet I've been told, but he said everybody been asked to leave. So for the peace and harmony of everybody, I guess we'll leave.
Yes.
Thank God I was here today.
Thank you, and so the mere fact of the matter is this is what I have to endure. And let it be known for the record that we will have to get someone in, a higher administrator to deal with this. The clerk is the chief is totally out of order. And be it known today that I would like to have a copy of the record of this video or DVD to send to Judge Robert Reeves. Thank you.
Mark Loudon Brown is an attorney for the Southern Center for Human Rights and represented Coley Pearson.
I don't know what the motive was, but it certainly, as an outsider, makes you think they're trying to send a message to people of color.